So we're out in the reservation, or the Bioreserve in Fall River, which is a tremendous green space that many people in Fall River don't even know we have. This is an absolute pristine natural area that people have got to enjoy more, and we're going to be announcing some grants that are going to allow them to do this today. I do want to introduce a few people that are with me. With us is my partner in government, Representative Paul Schmidt from Westport, Jen Klein, and Matt Montgomery. They're from the Trustees of the Reservation, and I have with us City Councilor Linda Pereira from Fall River, Mike Labossiere, he works for the city. This is part of his management area out here. The Administrator of Community Utilities, Paul Ferlin, and from the Chamber of Commerce, United Way, I'll never remember it, sorry. Kim Smith. I'm sorry, it's been a long day already. I do want to make a couple of comments about what it's like. Oh, and also over to the right is a good friend of mine, our fire chief, John Lynch. He's already announced that he's going to be the first one to run the trail. It's only 20 miles, and John is inviting people to run with him, probably at about a 4-minute mile pace so no one gets injured, but John is usually way out in front on these runs, and I know he's going to do a great job for us breaking the trail in. People don't know that Fall River is actually 50% urban area and 50% forest and water. And that's why we're out here on this side of the lake today, to make people aware of the fact of what great potential we have. We have the waterfront at the Watuppa Pond, where Linda Pereira, our councilor, was instrumental in getting a brand new picnic area set up. And Fall River's portion of the bioreserve out here is 4,800 acres, which, so the people in Fall River understand, that's 280 times the size of Kennedy Park. And that's all out here, all for us to enjoy safely and obviously keeping everything clean and fresh. I want to thank our partners from the Trustee for the Reservation who are with us today to announce these grants. The city's goal is to make sure the residents of Fall River know that this beautiful nature reserve is right in their backyard. And it's our job to make sure the place is safe and accessible for anyone who wants to use it. We have a whole team of partners who are with us today who are well on their way to bringing more residents out to the reservation. Recently we had the Appalachian Mountain hikers out here. I was there one morning with Paul. They were taking off on their walk, and it was great to see the group there. I really want to thank the Department of Community Utilities and our partners for all the hard work investing in this hidden gem in the city of Fall River. And with that, that's my piece, and I can't say enough about everybody coming out today. I want to turn it over to Paul Ferlin, who's our Director of Community Utilities. And again, thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. So today we're out here to announce 2 grants that the City of Fall River Community Utilities and one that the Trustees of the Reservation received recently from the DCR Trails Grant Program. As the Mayor said, you have the Bioreserve, which is out here, made up of different conservation areas within Fall River, Freetown, and Dartmouth. Fall River's original reason for having this conservation land out here was for protection of their watershed. The North Watuppa Pond is a pristine drinking water supply that is able to supply drinking water to over 100,000 customers. Part of the reason that it is that pristine and doesn't have effects from algae or other, outlying invasive species is because of the protection that it afforded over the past 150 years that the Water Department's been out here protecting it. The Water Department started back in the mid-1800s purchasing up parcels of land in this area to be able to protect the North Watuppa drinking water supply. Eventually later in the late 1800s, it developed its first drinking water treatment plant on the North Watuppa and provided fire protection and drinking water to the residents. We continued to preserve conservation land on this side of the North Watuppa to be able to protect all the land moving forward. So that's kind of how we got into the Bioreserve as the City of Fall River, which through the Water Department and the protection of the North Watuppa Pond. In the early 2000s, when the state created the Bioreserve, which was a combination of the land within Fall River from the Fall River Water Department as well as land from the trustees of the reservation, DCR land, which was part of the Fall River Freetown State Forest. We were able to combine everything together to create this one large area where we're able to move forward and be able to allow people to come out here for recreational use. So with that, a little bit of history on how Fall River got into the land conservation and the water protection area out here. We continue to move forward. There are still some small parcels that we keep our eye on to add to our conservation, to be able to add to the bioreserve. With partners like the trustees and DCR, we're able to continue to do that moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Laborsia for a little bit about the project that we were able to secure a grant with. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Labosse here. I'm the forester and the project manager of the city's part of the Southeastern Mass Bioreserve. I'd like to start first by also thanking the trustees, and I want to acknowledge a couple of things. First of all, 20 years ago when the Bioreserve was created, if it wasn't for the trustees, I don't think we would have a Bioreserve. The trustees came in early, provided leadership, helped financing and funding, and they were the instrumental partner in sort of bringing the state and the city together. The state is DCR and the Department of Fish and Game, the city Department of Community Utilities. But the trustees were able to come in with its own kind of expertise, and were a great fourth, if you will, partner, and helped to sort of settle the final footprint of the trustees, helped in the acquisition of the 3,800 acres, and so on and so forth. So there was that role that they played. Secondly, for almost 15 years, the trustees had a full-time education and outreach coordinator that really set a really good template for bringing sort of the values, the ecology, the cultural landscape, all the lessons that there are out here to the public, to elementary school, to high school youth, to adults. There would be programs out here in the middle of the night, looking at vernal pools, owl prowls, amateur archaeological digs. I mean, it was a really exciting time, and for those 15 years, that was no charge. So the trustees came and they sort of identified and created sort of a template that I think we will be able to use going forward as we continue to strive to building a Bioreserve Discovery Center, which is still something we really, really, I think, need to bring home the fact that, for citizens, that this is here, how to use it, how to love it, and how to protect it. And finally, I did want to also commend the trustees for a very exciting initiative that they have, where they're studying the effects of climate change on rising tide and storm surges along 4 different sections of the coast, and maybe one of the trustees may talk about it later. There was a very exciting announcement earlier in the month, or a presentation of the second of the report, which dealt with Nantucket and Martha's Vineyards and some situations that may occur there, and that's a bit alarming, but that's theirs to tell you. But again, appreciate that work. That's really significant. What I wanted to present today, there are 2 grants that Mass Trails has awarded to Bioreserve projects. Usually you'd think going into this, maybe these 2 projects would be competing, and oh boy, and of course we found out when we each asked each other for a letter of support that, hey, you're doing a project too, isn't that interesting? I hope that won't be a problem. They were very complementary projects. So what I'm going to talk about today is the project that the city presented, and I actually have a map on the side here, which I realize now I can't see in front of the microphone. So, thank you. So, as has been mentioned, the Bioreserve is big, and I think one of the things, and we really would love for every person of all abilities and interests, would really love more people to be out here enjoying this. You know, it's ours. It's all of ours. It's our land. And so, but the bioreserve is really big. How do you do that? You create a big trail. And so our idea was to create the bioreserve loop trail. And in some respects, we've been here before, right? There's a little deja vu. The Big Walk has been going on for about 22 years. The Big Walk was a Green Futures-led walk that would go anywhere from 12 to 17 miles. Started in the 90s, and really it was meant to, at first, showcase the area, maybe even promote the idea that it should be protected, because after all, it started before the bioreserve existed. And so that tradition continued until COVID, actually. And COVID, we took a year off, and then this year it's just been all mixed up. But part of the cue for creating the Big Walk, the bioreserve long trail, is let's imprint on the landscape a big trail, a big walk, if you will. So another aspect of protecting the land is we don't necessarily want to keep adding more trails. This land, after all, functions in a lot of ways. One thing is protecting the soils, protecting the water supply. Another thing is protecting habitat. So there's a way to join and link existing trails and create one unified 20-mile loop, and that's what we've done with this artist conception. And that artist conception is pretty darn accurate. This trail is going to be, I would call it a rustic trail. It's not going to be an asphalt trail. It's going to have a lot of rustic qualities. It's going to be what nature provides. But some aspects will be single lane. Some aspects will be fire lanes, and it's meant to be. You could walk a piece of it. You could walk the whole thing. You could run it, like apparently John's going to do. I'll be right behind you, John. It's going to be a lot of fun. My boys and I this last summer actually went on the Tully Trail, which is a 22-mile loop, and we did it in a day. So it's not impossible, but like a lot of longer walks, you want to work your way up to it, kind of like what United Way is doing this year with some smaller walks and runs before their event in October. So so that's it. It's going to be a trail. It's going to be marked. It's going to be marked consistently. It's going to be one unified marking. As you can see on the markup, there's going to be access to numerous places to park. You don't all have to start at the same place. There's probably going to be a half a dozen places. We'll have a wayfinding or you are here kind of an identifier at these places you could start. One thing COVID pointed out, and immediately after COVID started, we had a wave of people out here, and they were all like parking at the same parking lot. And so the socially distanced experience kind of broke down in the parking lot when everybody's on top of each other. So you have a way to sort of spread yourself out on the landscape. I think some things are still a work in progress. I've heard an idea about marking the trails by mile. That's a great idea. So that might be something we can incorporate. And we're also going to add a new parking lot because you can't have enough parking lots, right? So there'll be a parking lot on Indian Town Road, which is somewhere down the bottom. And the trail is going to be really varied. It's going to hit on places like Boiling Spring. Like, what the heck is that? Well, come out and find out. But it's one of these hidden things where if you don't have and there'll be a trail guide, of course. There's Bell Rock, like this Bell Rock Road, right? Where does that name come from? Come on the trail, find out. There's loads of little hidden, just South Coast sort of iconic things. And the trail is going to go through Copacut Woods. It's going to dip into Copacut Woods. You'll see a little bit of that beautiful, iconic sort of 19th century farm area. You're gonna go across Copacut Hill, which is the highest point in southern Bristol County. Congratulations, Mayor. So there are some really, really scenic and beautiful parts of it. It'll sample a lot of it, and I hope what it will do is it'll also wet people's whistles for coming and looking at other areas. There's shoreline fishing at the Copacut Reservoir. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy the bioreserve. But those are kind of the highlights. That's what our plan is, and so I hope next year maybe we'll see you all at a ribbon cutting. But that's the Bioreserve Long Trail is the substance of our grant, and we hope to begin it as soon as possible. So that said, I will yield the podium to Jen Klein, and I thank you very much for your support.
Great. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and everyone else for coming out today to this beautiful property. My name is Jen Klein. I'm with the Trustees of Reservations. I serve as our statewide director of outdoor experiences. You know, one of our taglines and guiding principles of the trustees is "You belong here." And that's really a nod to the fact that wherever people are or wherever they find themselves in Massachusetts, they're never really too far away from one of our 120 special places where they can safely be outside and enjoying the restorative aspects of being in nature. Thanks to the Mass Trails grant that the trustees recently received, the trustees are backing up our slogan of "You belong here" with direct action. We're planning to install a universal access nature play trail at Copacut Woods. It'll be the first of its kind in this area. And it'll consist of nearly 1,900 feet of trail that will greatly improve accessibility, but also providing nature play structures along the way, which will make this property, we hope, a premier destination for families, and especially families with young children. With Copacut Woods being the gateway to the greater Bioreserve that we've all just heard about, it's our hope that our accessible nature play trail will bring new people to our property, but then that will just whet their appetite to want to go deeper into the property and explore the greater loops and trails throughout the property. And while I'm fairly new to the trustees, I just want to say I'm no stranger to this property and this space. I was first introduced to the Trustees of Reservations 13 years ago, hiking at Copacut Woods and the Bioreserve with my family. And as such, to me, I've recognized this property as being a hidden gem in southeastern Massachusetts. And it's my personal hope and goal to take this property from being a hidden gem to a household name. There's over 500 acres of upland forests, wetlands, and waterways that are completely free, and it's a true local treasure. I don't have to say that to anyone that's here today. So the trustees are taking steps to ensure that everyone realizes that, and starting with the folks that live right here in Fall River and the surrounding communities who may not realize this gem that's right in their backyard. So that's why, in addition to this trail, one thing that we've started this summer is a program called Outdoor Adventures. And it's a new set of programs that provide guided hikes, mountain biking, and kayaking adventures at non-programmed trustees properties like Copacut Woods. So from family-friendly guided hikes to toddler trek and play adventures, we're actively programming a number of properties in southeastern Massachusetts, many for the first time and many for the first time in a number of years. And it's really our goal to get people out and explore nature, and for many it might be their first time. And to that point, I just want to mention that after today's press event, those that are around and have time, we will be leading a guided hike at Copacut Woods following the remarks today. And we also have hikes coming up at Slocum River Reserve, which is not too far away either. Also this summer, we'll have programming going on at Eastover Reservation in Rochester and Lyman Reserve in Buzzards Bay. Most of these events are running at a very limited capacity because we are concerned with COVID safety and want to give people an opportunity to be at an event with a very small number of people outdoors. You can find more information about those by visiting our website, trustees.org, and check out our events. So thank you to everyone here in Fall River. Thank you to the Baker and Polito administration for providing the funds for this unique experience. that will no doubt be the first of its kind in this part of the state, and maybe the first of its kind in Massachusetts. We hope to break ground on our nature play trail within the next couple of months with some community engagement and working with a designer. And you know, at the end of all of that, it'll be open to the public, and it'll provide just one more unique experience in the trustees' large portfolio of properties. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the trustees' Chief of Marketing and Audience Development, Matt Montgomery.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you, Mayor and Representative and Councilor, for having us here at this beautiful spot. It's an amazing reminder of what conservation can do for people and for quality of life, that we're in this amazing place, and just a few minutes away there's a bustling city with 90,000 residents just beyond the trees. So that's what we do at the Trustees and have been doing for 130 years, is saving special places for the public, for public use and enjoyment. We take that part of our mission very seriously, and we believe that access is just as important as the protection part. So that's what we're doing here with this project. And I'll say a little bit more about what Jen was talking about with the nature play trails. So our little red line is a little bit shorter than Mike's, and that's because we're looking at full accessibility, and we want to make sure that it can be used by everyone. But also we're going to be integrating what we're calling these nature play elements. And this is so that families who might not feel as comfortable or as welcomed in the outdoors, you know, kids nowadays aren't playing outside the way we all did when we were younger. And this is a way to issue that welcome and that invitation to them. And that as they're going along this trail, they'll be invited to jump and climb and balance and be challenged to not just walk in the woods, but to play in the woods. And what we know is that children's brains are more active when their legs and their arms and their bodies are moving, and that's when they fall in love with things like playing outside. And that's what we want to happen. And we're so grateful for this grant. What no one has said yet, it's a total of about $90,000, so a pretty significant grant between the two that will really provide incredible access for many, many people. And the other piece I just want to share is that you know, we've seen throughout the pandemic this incredible increased interest in being outside. So many people who just needed to get out, just needed to find a way to spend time with their friends and family, have found the outdoors and have found nature. And that's something that we want to continue. We want those people to continue coming out. We want them to continue to be in love with the outdoors and to make it not just something that they did in a crisis moment, but that it becomes part of their life forever. And that's what we're about, and that's what we're trying to do today. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone. And the other important thing about today is this isn't just about getting outside, it's about partnerships. None of this work can happen without all of the partners here. And even as Mike was saying, 21 years ago, the real work was that amazing partnership that was developed between all of those agencies. So congratulations for that important moment. And that's why we're here and why we have this incredible asset that improves everyone's quality of life, and it just makes it a better place to live. So we're really grateful for that. We want to do that more, and we think the South Coast is such an important part of the state. We have 7 properties in the South Coast that we take care of, ranging from Westport Town Farm to Coppicut Woods, all amazing, beautiful places that are open from sunrise to sunset every day for free. And we want more people to enjoy that and to fall in love, because we're trying to create the next generation of conservationists to replace all of us when we're gone. So thank you very much, and the trustees are really happy to be here and to be involved in this project.
Okay, we do have 2 other people that would like to say a few words, but I do have to acknowledge the work of the city's grant writer, Jane DiBiasio. She stays on top of this stuff, and she really does great work for the city. I also want to let Representative Paul Schmidt, who obviously needs no introduction out here, is from a nice chunk of Fall River and a nice chunk of Westport, but he cares deeply about the Bioreserve, and he wanted to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and I'll start off by complimenting you on the vision that you have for this area. And I want to thank you and your team that's here, Mike, Paul, and Jane, for the work that they've done. This really is a gem. And it's not just a gem for Fall River and the South Coast. It's a regional gem. And Jen, I think you illustrated that perfectly because you started coming over here from Providence. And you learned the remarkable features of this 15,000 acres. So any chance we have to talk about this gem, we do. And of course, I'm here representing my colleagues, the Fall River delegation, Representative Sylvia, Representative Fiola, and Senator Rodrigues. And I spoke to him this morning. And he said, you know, I was there 20 years ago when the partners, trustees, city, DCR came together to do this audacious thing of creating an enormous area of the Bioreserve. And he mentioned to me, but Paul, we got to get more people knowing about it. Because if they don't know it, they can't love it and they can't support it. And he said, visitor center. We've got to have a visitor center, and I was so delighted, Mike, when you spoke about a visitor center here. And all of us at the state level really hope that that might come to pass, and we're here to support you and can't wait to work with you to try to make that happen, because you can't love it if you don't know it. So thanks very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. I'd also like to let Councilor Pereira, another strong supporter of the Bioreserve, say a few words.
Welcome everyone that came today. I think Matt said it right, that this is what happens when people can work together to get something done. I have to say from Senator Rodrigues that he was here 20 years ago, so was I, in making sure that we got this done. And, you know, with all of the partners that are here, to put something together. But I think Representative Schmidt said it, people don't know about it. So as they gave me the Committee of Economic Development and Tourism, I have had the pleasure of having Mr. Ferlin, who's the Director of Community of the Utilities, Community Utilities, and Mr. Labasia. So I think now it's time. We looked at it and we still have it in committee. So it's time to have another committee meeting for them to come forward and describe the project, and maybe somebody may have an idea, but people will know about it. And also to have the members of the trustees come forward. People need to know all the hard work that you're doing. And sometimes I don't think that we realize how much good we have in the city, how many positive things we have in the city. I gave a tour to a group of individuals who, believe it or not, were pigeon racers, and they came from China, from all over the world, and gave them a tour of Fall River and thought, why don't they do this all the time? There is a lot for us to see. But I think we're our own worst enemies in not promoting ourselves. It's okay to promote Fall River. I think one of the favorite slogans I ever had was former Mayor Bob Pereira, with pride citywide. Let's take pride in what we have. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all, because I know putting something like this together takes a lot of work. I mean, I worked on a little patch in Fall River just for a picnic area. I drove by there today. There were 6 families having lunch. There were kids there. So, and it's still a secret, but people are finding out and they're using it, just like they'll do this. So again, to everyone, and it's a partnership with people. This is what Fall River needs to do. Work together, and our ideas will become success stories. Thank you all.
Wow, nice, Linda.
Okay, so that will wrap up this, unless anybody has any questions. Pam?
My question, who will do the construction, the elbow grease, the brush clearing, the
Michael?
tree cutting?
Well, I'll address it real quick. The trails are there. So part of what we bring to the grant is in-kind service. We started up a great partnership with the Appalachian Mountain Club, as the mayor mentioned earlier. They're now leading hikes twice a month out here, which is one of the ways. And in fact, we've really turned the corner. In the beginning, we were not getting a lot of Fall River residents. As time went on and the numbers, enlarged, we are now probably 50-50. But anyway, part two of our volunteer or our partnership is going to be to actually enlist them, have them be at the front of doing volunteer work, such as there'll be some sort of wetland and stream crossing improvements that will need to be done. They are expert at that. They've literally written the book, Appalachian Mountain Club, on doing some of this trail work. In fact, a couple of years ago, they built a bridge across Doctor's Mill Pond Dam crossing, and it's there. It's a beautiful, very rustic but serviceable bridge, and so they will help. A lot of that will be volunteer work. The parking lot itself will be contracted out, and that's kind of spelled out in our contract with the state too. So there will be opportunities to volunteer, and in fact, if people are interested in that, they should give a call, and we'll hit you up.
I have one more question. What will the legal use be? Say, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, dog walking, mountain bike, or?
So because the trail is interdepartmental or interproperty, it'll rest on whatever the uses are of those properties currently. Except for parts of the watershed itself, they're mostly open for all passive use, and that does include any kind of hiking. I'm not so sure of I wouldn't start like sort of picking and choosing, but like I said, they will be similar to what they are now on those sections. So you'd have to just be familiar with the. In fact, you haven't brought that up. There is a trail guide. There's a stack of trail guides behind you. If anybody wants to pick up a stack of unified trail, it's the unified trail map for the whole bioreserve. It does not highlight specifically this loop, but you'll be able to see at a glance. There's a spaghetti bowl of trails, and what we're doing is sort of bringing order to that one loop. But you'll see how the trails cross different agencies, and they may have different kind of uses. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you mention the trails? The map's also available on our website.
Oh, shoot! Breaking news.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Department of Community Utilities has created a website, and there's a lot of great stuff on here. The Bioreserve, or the Watuppa Reservation, has its own sort of whatever you would call that. You click onto and go to, and this is going to be about the Watuppa Reservation. Partners and allies. Well, it's going to be actually all the information you would find in that brochure. I'm kind of still old school. I like the paper, but it's going to be here at the click of a mouse. So it is right here, watuppareserve.com, and look around, explore. I'm sure we'll be adding to it.
We'll be developing the site as time progresses.
Work in progress, but we finally entered the new century, so
Yay.
yay us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.